Imagine stepping into an empty corridor, only to hear a familiar voice echoing your name. A voice that shouldn't be there, a voice that belongs to someone long gone. Welcome back to Voices of Fear, the channel where true tragedy, folklore, and the paranormal collide. Tonight, we unravel one of Hong Kong's strangest urban legends, the spirit of a beloved celebrity host, said to return to Sha Tin long after his death. This is not just a story of fame and loss. It is a tale where grief and the supernatural walk hand in hand. Viewer discretion is advised. Before we begin, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from tonight? Comment your city or country below. And if you've ever had a terrifying experience of your own, stay tuned until the end, because I'll tell you how your story could become the next episode on this channel. Hong Kong in the late 1980s and 1990s was alive with television culture. In those days, the glowing box in the living room wasn't just entertainment. It was family time, a daily ritual, and among the countless faces that filled those screens, one host stood out. He was charismatic, witty, and impossibly likable. With a single smile, he could light up a stage. With a single line, he could bring laughter to millions. He was more than just a presenter. He was a symbol of Hong Kong's golden age of television, admired, respected, and, by many, deeply loved. Yet, beyond the glamour of lights and applause, there were whispers. Fame is never without shadows. Rumors of personal struggles, quiet loneliness, and the crushing pressure of maintaining perfection trailed behind him. To his audience, he was untouchable, but to those who looked closer, the cracks were beginning to show. Sha Tin, a district nestled in the New Territories, became one of his frequent escapes, a place where modern shopping centers stood beside centuries-old temples, where riverside walks offered a brief silence from the chaos of fame. Locals often spotted him strolling markets or pausing by the Xingmun River, blending in quietly as if searching for peace. But fate had other plans. When tragedy struck, it was not the glamorous districts of Hong Kong that claimed his story. It was Sha Tin, a district that, from that moment forward, would carry not only the memory of a beloved television figure, but also the chilling legend of what happened after his final curtain fell. It began like any other evening in Hong Kong. The neon glow shimmered across the Xingmun River, painting streaks of red and blue onto the dark water. The city bustled as usual, families returning home, students crowding the MTR, taxis weaving through narrow streets. Life pulsed as it always did, unaware that a beloved star's light was about to go out. News spread quickly like a shockwave. The host was gone, found suddenly, under circumstances too unclear to silence rumor. Some whispered it was an accident. Others suggested a private battle with despair, carefully hidden behind cameras and bright stage lights. And then there were those who believed something more sinister had taken him, that fate, or perhaps something darker, had intervened. No official story ever satisfied the public. The truth was clouded, fragmented, and riddled with speculation. Yet What was undeniable was what came after. Within weeks of his death, Sha Tin was no longer the same. At first, it was subtle. Commuters walking alone at night reported hearing his voice, drifting faintly on the wind, as though announcing the next act of a show. Clear, unmistakable, a voice they had grown up with. But when they stopped, searching the shadows, there was nothing. Then came the sightings. Figures swore they had seen him standing under flickering streetlights, his posture casual, his expression calm, as though waiting for an audience that never arrived. But the moment anyone approached, he would vanish. Some described the air turning icy cold, as if the warmth had been drained from the street itself. One of the most chilling accounts came from a taxi driver late one night. He claimed a passenger flagged him down outside Sha Tin station. The man slid into the back seat, gave an address in a calm, familiar voice. The driver, glancing in his mirror, froze. He recognized the face instantly. It was the host, the very same man whose funeral he'd seen on television weeks earlier. The driver drove in silence, heart pounding, until he finally worked up the courage to confirm the destination. But when he looked back, the seat was empty. The door had never opened. The car smelled faintly of cigarette smoke, the brand the host was once known to favor. Others told of televisions in their homes switching on at odd hours. No signal, only static, until a shadowy silhouette flickered across the screen, resembling the late celebrity. A distorted voice followed, sometimes a greeting, sometimes a laugh, before the picture dissolved into nothing. Shoppers at Sha Tin Market described hearing applause echoing faintly through the stalls, though no performance was taking place. One vendor claimed that a microphone, left abandoned at a karaoke booth, suddenly switched on by itself. Through the speakers came a laugh, soft but unmistakable, the same laugh that once echoed in millions of households. For many, these were coincidences, tricks of memory, echoes of grief in a city struggling to let go of a star who had once felt like family. But for others, it was undeniable. The spirit of Hong Kong's beloved TV personality had not left. He had returned to Sha Tin, the place he once walked in life, as though drawn back to the people he loved, perhaps still yearning for the audience that adored him. Urban legends spread quickly in Hong Kong, and soon Sha Tin became the heart of ghostly speculation. What began as a handful of unsettling encounters grew into dozens of chilling tales, stories whispered in markets, repeated on late-night radio, and shared quietly among families who still remembered the host's smile. Locals spoke of strange signs that could not be explained. Televisions in nearby homes flickered on at ungodly hours, always the same way, static first, then a distorted hum, and sometimes, only sometimes, beneath the static came a voice, calm, warm, familiar, a voice that once introduced shows, cracked jokes, and read the evening's announcements. A voice the city thought it had lost forever. Some claimed the spirit was restless because he had died at the peak of his fame, unprepared to leave the spotlight. Others believed his unfinished business chained him to this world. whether it was ties to family, a debt never repaid, or secrets hidden from the public eye. Street vendors told unsettling stories of sudden cold winds sweeping through crowded markets. Entire stalls of paper offerings, just money meant for the dead, would scatter into the air as though invisible hands had brushed through them. Customers stood frozen as the air chilled, the scent of burnt incense filling the space without a single flame nearby. At Sha Tin's busy MTR station, multiple commuters described the same unnerving experience. Standing by the glass barriers, they would see his reflection, clearer than a shadow, faint but undeniable. He was smiling, sometimes lifting a hand in a casual wave, as if greeting an audience once more. But when they turned to look, there was no one there, only the sound of trains rushing into the station, drowning out the whispers. The story spread quickly, enough that priests and spiritual masters were called to intervene. In the shadow of the Sha Tin temples, they burned incense and performed cleansing rituals, their chants echoing through the district late into the night. Locals gathered at a distance, clutching charms and whispering prayers. For a while the air felt lighter, but then, as though mocking the rituals, the strange occurrences began again. One temple keeper swore that a microphone left in storage powered on by itself. Through its dusty speakers came a faint laugh, distorted but familiar. When checked, no power source was connected. For many, these encounters were not superstition, but proof. The beloved host's spirit lingered. Fame had not protected him. Death had not silenced him. Instead, Sha Tin became his stage, an eternal performance played out in flickering lights, distorted voices, and fleeting shadows. And for those who believed, the legend carried a chilling reminder that even the brightest stars can cast the darkest shadows when their light is suddenly snuffed out. Skeptics remain firm in their explanations. They argue that what people experienced in Sha Tin was not supernatural at all, but the natural power of memory and grief. When a celebrity becomes part of daily life, entering homes through TV screens, speaking directly into living rooms, his presence lingers long after death. They say the voices were echoes of longing, the reflections nothing more than tired eyes and imagination filling the silence. But believers tell a different story. They highlight how strangers, people with no connection to one another, describe the same encounters in chilling detail. A familiar voice, a fleeting figure beneath a streetlight, or a reflection smiling faintly before dissolving into mist. The consistency, they argue, is difficult to dismiss as coincidence. Perhaps, they whisper, the beloved host's spirit was caught between worlds. His sudden passing left threads unfinished, dreams unspoken, applause left unheard. And so his soul wandered back to the place where he felt most alive, the heart of the city, among the people who once adored him. In the end, the greatest tragedy may not only be his death, but the haunting possibility that he is still searching for the spotlight, still waiting for an audience he can no longer touch. What do you think? Were the hauntings of Sha Tin nothing more than grief echoing through a city that could not let go? Or is the spirit of a beloved host truly wandering its streets, trapped between fame and the afterlife? Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. If it left you with chills, make sure to subscribe to Voices of Fear so you never miss our next journey into the shadows. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed something you couldn't explain? A disturbing encounter, a strange voice in the night, a memory that felt more like a haunting? If you have a story, whether it's personal or passed down through whispers, share it with us in the comments below. Who knows? Your experience might become the next story we tell here. Next time, we'll dive into another legend, one darker, stranger, and far more unsettling, where tragedy and the supernatural blur into one. Until then, remember, never step into the darkness alone.